Have you ever tried to change what you do, change one of your habits maybe, but then you find that you fall back on your old way of doing things a little bit too easily? If that happens to you, don't worry, it happens to us all because humans are not good about changing habits. But in this episode, which could be life changing for you if you really embrace it, we can understand the new habit formula from the book The Coaching Habit by Michael Bungay Stanier. Welcome to the Bite Size Sales Podcast, where we believe that sales is the most important team in a B2B company, that complacency is the enemy, and taking bite-sized steps each day to get better at your craft is the best way to improve results. I am your host, Andrew Monahan, and I'm using my 26 years of experience in B2B sales to bring you small, actionable ideas every day to help you get better. I truly believe this episode could be life-changing for you because of what it tackles, which is the scourge of every well-intentioned human being, which is the commitment to change, which never actually happens. And look, all the examples you can think about, resolutions, New Year's resolutions is the classic one. The idea that, in January we're going to hit the gym again and it lasts, a few days or a few weeks, or even diets, which people yo-yo in and off of, on and off of all the time. And also in the sales world, right? Where you hear something, and you maybe hear on a podcast such as this, or you hear it from your boss or one of your coworkers, and you want to go and try it. But when it comes to doing it live fire in front of a prospect, you never seem to do it. You always kind of go back to your old way of doing it. It happens in our lives again and again and again. What's cool is in the last few years, there's been a bunch of research being written about in a number of great books. Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg, Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg, Atomic Habits by James Clear, have all kind of addressed this idea about how do you create new habits when old ones existed and then stick to the new habits as opposed to letting them fall by the wayside over time. In this situation, in a book called The Coaching Habit by Michael Bungay Stanier, he articulates what he calls the new habit formula. And it takes a lot of the research in the books I just mentioned and brings it into a very practical standpoint. So one of the things I love about Michael Bungay Stanier, he's been training leaders to be coaches for years, and therefore he's got that very practical sense about what people do in the real world to really do this properly and become more coach-like, and all the ideas and the theories that just don't work when you're out there, when you're leading teams, that just, again, seem to fall by the wayside. So a lot of what's in his book is very practical, and there's some great things in there. So let me read a little bit from the book for you. In the Box of Crayons Coaching Skills Workshops, which is his company, that's what they do, we've increasingly focused on helping participants define and commit to specific habits rather than to the broad and rarely acted upon action list. To help people do that, we've drawn from some of the insights and, after testing it out in the real world, created the new habit formula, a simple, straightforward, and effective way of articulating and kickstarting the new behavior you want. There are 3 parts to the formula. One is identifying the trigger. Second is identifying the old habit. And the third one is defining the new behavior that you want to use. And here's how it works. So first of all, identifying the trigger. And the phrase is, when this happens. And he talks about define the trigger, the moment when you're at a crossroads and could go down either the well-trod road of the old way of behaving or the path less trodden, which is your new way of behaving. If you don't know what this moment is, you're going to continually miss it, and with that, the opportunity to change behavior. And the more specific you can make it, the better. So, for instance, a trigger might be when I'm feeling frustrated in my weekly meeting with Bob because he says, I haven't really thought about it. In the sales world, going off script here a little bit, in the sales world, it might be, during my forecast call with Jane, when she pushes that big deal out again, you're being very specific what the trigger is at that point. All right. So secondly, he talks about identifying the old habit, which to vocalize it, it's instead of. So articulate the old habit so you know what you're trying to stop doing. Again, the more specific you can make it, the more useful it's going to be. For instance, I asked Bob, have you thought about X? And hope he'll get the suggestion that I disguised a pseudo question, all the while thinking bad thoughts about Bob. And then he goes on to talk about the new habit that you're trying to articulate here. So defining the new behavior, I will. Define the new behavior, one that will take 60 seconds or less to do. We know that the fundamental shift of behavior you're looking to accomplish is to give less advice and show more curiosity. And that's what's great about the 7 questions in the book that you're about to discover. So to finish the example that he used, the way to finish is, I will ask Bob, so what ideas do you have now? So let's take that and put that in a leadership context in sales. Let's say you're working with one of your teams. So the trigger, as we talked about, might be when I'm doing the one-on-one forecast call with Jane, and she pushes that deal further out again, instead of losing my shit or drilling into her really hard about negative things about why the heck this deal is shifting out again, the new habit is I will then ask her a much more open questions, such as, tell me more about what's going on there. Okay, so that's the 3-step formula. Identify the trigger. Secondly, identify the old way of doing it that you're trying to replace, so it's very front and center in your mind. And thirdly, articulate what your new habit is that you want to use. So this is a very powerful formula. I've started using this for the last 6 months or a year working with people. It's backed by research, but it's also very, very practical, right? There's nothing complicated about this. There's no 8-step formula here. It's a 3-step formula. It's one that you can write down. It's one that you can think about in your mind. And it's one that when you're in the heat of the battle, when you're live fire in front of a prospect, is something that you can keep to your center when you're trying to change something. So my action for you, if this resonates with you, is write down this formula. Write down one thing that you want to use within this formula to change, and give it a go and try it and commit to it. If you want to get the book mentioned in this episode for free, simply go to bitesizesales.com/free book. If you sign up on that page for unstoppable.do, we'll send you your book on us. Unstoppable gives you habit-forming action notes on great sales books such as Spin Selling, Never Split the Difference, New Sales Simplified, The Challenger Sale, and many more. In there, you get the best ideas from these books, all organized in a straightforward and easy to implement way, and designed for you to take action and transform your results. All at the equivalent of 3 cups of coffee per month. Start now and get your free book by going to bitesizesales.com/free book. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with anyone you think would get value. Coworkers, teammates, your boss, your head of sales, even that guy you worked with 2 companies ago who could probably do with some help. In fact, just overshare it. This is one of the few times it's cool to do that. Your podcast app will have a share button. Please click it and share it wide and far.